Hi everyone, and welcome to today's workshop. I wanted to take a couple of seconds to introduce you to the YMCA Employment Services for those of you that are not already familiar. Whether you're looking for an entry-level job or a more senior role, finding a job is never easy, and that's why our free employment programs are here to support you throughout this process. During the times of COVID, we have moved our services online and virtually offer workshops, in addition to Monday to Friday from 12 to 2. Employment coaches are here to support you and answer your employment questions in real time. Check out our website for more information about all of the services we have to offer. If you have any questions about today's workshop or any of our free employment programs, please contact one of our sites, St. Catharines, Thorold, or Niagara Falls. Thanks so much and have a great day.
Hi, I'm Kim. I'm an employment coach and I work out of the Niagara Falls office.
Hi, I'm Randy and I'm an employment coach and I work out of the St. Catharines office. So today we're going to be discussing types of interview questions. We're going to be covering your standard interview questions as well as behavioral and situation-based questions. So the standard interview question, it's commonly asked interview question from the job interviewer to the interviewee. The employer is asking questions about you as the applicant. It's commonly asked as an open-ended question, and the soft skills and value-based typed questions, and the employer is looking to see what is important to you based on your answer. So here are some of your standard interview questions and what information the employer is really looking for when they ask. So tell me about yourself. This is also known as the 2-minute elevator pitch. So what skills and experiences do you have, education and certificates as it relates to the position you've applied for? Provide information only as it relates to your resume. Talk about the programs or training that you took, the time spent in the related field, and what you learned from those positions. What are your strengths? So how do the strengths you possess relate to the job and benefit the employer? Make sure you have studied the job posting and use that information to relate it to the skills, experience, and education that you have. If you provide the employer with a strength, make sure you have an example to demonstrate that skill. So what are your weaknesses? The employer is looking to see if you will give them an honest account of your weakness and how it could affect the job. Be honest with the employer, tell them what weakness you have, but also what you are doing to improve that skill. Try to use an actual weakness and not the run-of-the-mill example available on the internet. What are your wage expectations? Employers are looking to see if the wages you are expecting are in line with what they are offering. Use your research skills to try and determine what the wage is for the company and the position that you are applying for. Make sure that you know what the base salary you're willing to accept is and work from there. For example, at this time, I'm willing to negotiate my wage, but I'm seeking approximately $35,000 per year. So why do you want to work for us? The employer wants to know what research you have done on their company and how your skills match the current opportunity. Talk about the aspects of that company that drew your attention to them. Review the company mission statement and their potential community involvement and tie that to yourself. You can also talk about the company's reputation within the community for being a good employer. Please provide an example of working alone or within a team. So they are looking for specific examples of the work that you did and examples of your ability to work with either independently or within a team. Prepare a few scenarios beforehand that you easily reference and if asked this question. Provide examples based on your most recent work experience. For an example, perhaps your boss pushed up a deadline at the last minute and you helped your team speed up the rate of work to complete the project successfully and on time. So as an example, what are some of your weaknesses? Because we all know this one is your favorite. One of my weaknesses is time management. In the past, I found myself losing track of time and not able to complete tasks within the time frame needed. Since this time, I have found an effective way to stay on top of tasks and assignments by utilizing my calendar features, such as color coding, task reminders, and attending to tasks once completed. This method has had a significant success in my current work abilities.
Okay, so we're going to switch over to behavior-based and situational interview questions. So behavior-based question is when the interviewer will ask the interviewee to reflect back on a specific scenario from their previous experience and explain how they've handled things. This requires the interviewee to reflect back on past scenarios from previous work experience. This is past-oriented, not future-based. The employer asks these types of questions since the past performance is a key indicator to successful future performances. Situational questions is when the interviewer or interviewees will create a hypothetical situation and when asked the interviewee what they would do to handle a specific scenario. This requires an interviewee to explain a response to a situation. Employers do this to see how job candidate would handle him or herself in a typical scenario that occurs frequently in the workplace or prospective position that you've applied to. This is future-based instead of past-orientated. You're going to go to the STAR technique. So this is just one of the techniques we can use to help you organize your thoughts and organize all your examples of the potential questions that may be asked in the interview. It's a way to help you have a clear and concise answer. So STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. So the situation. So this is based on the situational or behavioral questions asked at the job interview. This is asking you to identify a specific and relevant scenario to the persons or persons interviewing you. So it's really important to look back into when you're answering these questions and thinking about the examples, about the who, were you by yourself, were you working with a team, the what was the situation, where were you in the front desk, were you in the serving station at the restaurant, why did this happen, and how. So these are all the things that you want to make sure that you're laying out in a very concise manner during the situation. Task. What was the task you set out for yourself to address the situation? Were you going to be able to do it independently, and what were your steps? So this is where your action comes in. You're going to explain into step-by-step more detail about what happened when the task was enforced, when you were able to complete the task. The result. This is where you indicate the outcome of the situation. What happened, what occurred, was it a positive outcome? And sometimes when we do these scenarios, they will come out not positive, but it's always a learning situation. And there's always a way to turn that negative perception into a positive. Did you retrain? Did you ask for more assistance? At the end of the day, what was the situation and how did it end up? So we're going to start with, I have it separated in the graphs a little bit different. So behavior-based to situational in one graph, because sometimes if you haven't had that example or situation happen, that question can turn into a situational question. So the behavior-based question that we're going to start with is, tell me about a time when you had a conflict or disagreement with a coworker, customer, or management. How did you handle it? Very rarely will all those three be in one question, but it will be the same type of question, whether it was with a coworker, customer, or management. If it's a situation, maybe this is your first job you've applied to, this might be a question of how would you handle a difficult customer in this situation. So maybe you don't have past experience, so you're going to let that employer know when you answer the question how you will do it. So in both situations, the employer is looking for conflict, resolution skills, and the steps you took to resolve the problem. The employer is looking for a certain level of maturity within the workplace. So with the behavior base, what kind of information you supply or provide when you're answering this question is a detailed example of the situation that relates to the current opportunity position. Making sure that if you have past experiences, you want to make sure that you're also tying that experience into how that situation will help you in the current opportunity you're applying to. For a situation, if you hadn't had an experience, make sure that you're not saying I've never been, or try not to say I've never been in that situation before. Instead, I would start your answer with, if I were in that situation, this is what I would do, or this is how I would handle it. So you're still having a positive entrance into your question or answer for your question. The next one we're going to move to is, tell me about a time you made a mistake on the job. How did you resolve that mistake? Sometimes this is a hard question to answer because a lot of time we don't want to highlight or talk about the mistakes we made, but it's really important for employees to understand that we all make mistakes at the beginning of our jobs, in the middle of our jobs, when we're changing positions within our company. So the employer is looking for accountability, looking for responsibility. What kind of steps did you take to rectify the situation? So it's really important to think about an honest, detailed situation that has occurred. It doesn't have to be any huge mistake. It's something that you've done and that you had to relearn or had to retrain or do something differently. So you want to provide a detailed example and steps you took to resolve independently with assistance, retraining in the area. A negative example can always be a teaching moment. So, you know, how did you learn, or what did you do to make sure that that mistake didn't happen again? So give some examples of a time when you worked alone and with a team. As you recall, this can also be based as a standard question, but it can also be asked if they're looking for more detailed examples. So this can relate anywhere from volunteer work, school teams, or even when you're working in projects at school or with a team. So what the employer is looking for is teamwork, leadership, self-directed, and initiative within the workplace. So some examples can provide insight to the applicant's ability to work alone, initiative, and still complete a task effectively. So when you're answering this question, it's really important to be concise. Keep your example when you're talking about your team example about what your role was specifically. So keep it concise and clear. The next question is, what would you do, or have you ever been in a position that you've had multiple projects or tasks that were due in the same time frame? How did you, or how would you handle it? So this is what the employer is looking for, is your ability to multitask and prioritize projects and tasks. So they're looking for time management and organizational skills. So one of the examples Randy had brought up earlier was, you know, using an effective calendar or alarms or reminders with regards to time management. This is a really clear indicator to them that you're able to have a self-initiative and self-direction to be able to prioritize and multitask. Okay, so make sure you have a really good example and a clear way to directive of when you're answering this question. So this is the STAR technique. This is one how we can lay it out. So it's a kind of an easy way to follow. So the question I want to pose, just to have an example, is tell me about a time when you made a mistake on the job and how you handled it. So again, we're going to start with a situation. So, you know, when I was working, you can make it a little bit more clear with the who, what, when, where, why. So we've made it a little bit easier to follow. So in concise form, it's I was unfamiliar with a new program, computer program, and I accidentally permanently deleted the program. The task was to determine if you're able to access and recover the backup program. So you're going to try to do that independently to see if you're able to do so. Your action was you weren't able to do, so you advised your supervisor right away, and you were assisted in a retraining with the program. So your response and result was that although you made the mistake, you took the accountability for it, you asked for assistance, and in turn, you were able to have a retraining within that program so that mistake didn't occur again.
If you have more specific questions detailed to your situation, feel free to reach out to any of our 3 locations and you can get connected with an employment coach. Thank you for participating today and have a great day.